2, 1.
Hi folks, and welcome to Who Moved the Market. I'm Surabhi Upadhyay, and making her debut on Who Moved the Market today is none other than Ekta Batra. Ekta, about time, and I think your sector is dominating the headlines today with the kind of price moves you're seeing. Finally money moving in. There's lots of green on the pharma screen.
Absolutely, Surabhi, because I've wondered ever since you started the show, why has pharma never been a topic of discussion on the show? And today I am so glad that we've started the week with pharmaceuticals and healthcare, and we're talking about that. But yes, pharma is finally gaining today.
Yeah.
It's outperforming the Nifty today. But I've been working the phones, and I've asked that why exactly is pharma gaining? Is there some big news which has taken place overnight in the US? But not really. It's a lot about just possibly defensive buying simply because of what is happening. We saw that happen with COVID as well, where pharmaceuticals and healthcare saw that huge rally which took place during that time of uncertainty and a black swan event. And that's possibly one of the reasons that there's so much uncertainty globally now with the banking space that pharmaceuticals just becomes a safe haven sort of sector. Separately, there's a lot of concern about growth. Now the market is probably recognizing that maybe there is growth in the pharmaceutical space on a relative basis at least. For example, I was reading a BNP Paribas report that came out a couple of weeks ago, and they indicated that there is an estimate of at least 10 to 11% revenue growth potential within the pharmaceutical space. They're expecting price erosion in the US to probably reduce, a bit to mid to single digits as well. Right now it's in double digits. And overall valuations also have corrected. The Nifty Pharma Index has corrected around 15% from its 52-week high. We have valuations which are probably at a 10% discount to its long-term average as well. And COVID-19 cases. That's always the second you see COVID rising, you see pharmaceutical stocks rising as well. Though, Lata had a great chat in the morning.
Hopefully it's not going to be as serious as the past three waves, right?
The experts indicated that, you don't have to panic, but it's just a sentiment correlation.
So I think you've clubbed in a lot of factors that that really now all put together, it's pretty evident and obvious why pharma would move up. So let's take them one step at a time. The first point, as you said, it's really a typical defensive play, and I was wondering actually all this while, when the market was sulking, we were in this range, in fact the Nifty was falling, why isn't money rushing to FMCG and pharma? Even FMCG hasn't done that well, relatively speaking, and for pharma it's of course day one of the move today, so we need to see if this can kind of build on. But let's also talk about the price performance. I think it also that's important to point out, right, because this is a sector which hasn't done that well in the past in any case, and it's also under-owned.
Exactly. It lost a lot of flavor post COVID-19 settling, because there were a lot of the other issues which emerged. There was more competition which came in.
And the FDA was open for business, the US FDA.
Absolutely. The US FDA was open for business. There was so much action. There was a lot of negative news flow also, which impacted a lot of the companies individually. And remember, pharmaceuticals is a lot about individual stories, about their individual plants and their individual drugs. So many of them outperform or are resilient, many of them underperform. So I'm just going to take you through the performance really quick. Now if you look at it on a year-to-date basis, the Nifty is down close to around 6% Nifty Pharma is down close to those levels as well. 52-week high, the Nifty is corrected around 10%. Nifty Pharma has underperformed as compared to that. Now in terms of specific stocks, Sun, Dr. Reddy's have been quite resilient. They are the ones which have stood out. But look at Cipla. It's down over 20% from its 52-week high. Lupin is down 18% from its 52-week high. Biocon is corrected almost 50% from its 52-week high. So again, it gives you an indication that yes, today these stocks are gaining, but you have to look at it on a larger context as well. And similar case for the valuations. If you started the year with 20 to 23 times for Sun, it's at around 21, 22 times. Lupin is at around 27, 28 times as compared to 31 to 32 odd times. Valuation correction is not as significant because there's been EPS downgrades which have happened, or EPS cuts which have happened for a couple of the companies individually as well. So that's where things stand. That yes, today we are gaining. Let's see whether that continues.
Absolutely. Or not. So you mentioned a lot of the key frontline pharma stocks. There's also the hospital side of it, and diagnostics. And diagnostics, we've seen, a massive outflow of money, right, after COVID kind of settled in. So just give us some perspective on that as well.
So it's definitely better for hospitals, not that good for diagnostics. So for hospitals, you know, they have a lot going for them. There's a possibility that medical tourism is picking up significantly. India has the USP when it comes to medical tourism. People are much more aware of their health. There's insurance penetration, which is greater. All of this which has taken place post-COVID-19, which is a plus point for hospital companies.
Right.
It's not as much of a story for diagnostic companies because there is just too much competition about when it comes to diagnostics. You know, post COVID-19 or during COVID-19, many companies realized that it's a low barriers to entry business. There are lots of companies who are doing diagnostics now, a lot of online companies offering a lot of tests at cheap rates. And that's the reason you've seen the correction that you have in the you know, diagnostic companies. Today they might be gaining on hopes that maybe COVID volume will rise, but that's not the case as of now.
Really hope so on that one. Okay, so that kind of puts the move in perspective that it's a one-day pop right now. Let's see if it builds into something more significant. But I want to come to the individual company news flow as well, starting with Sun Pharma. We woke up to headlines of a ransomware attack. And these are typically things that we're not used to. That too, a large Indian listed, you know, frontline index company. So what have you been gathering? The stock is still holding up quite okay, but can it become a problem if it's not resolved soon?
So what they have indicated, what Sun has indicated is that a ransomware group has claimed responsibility for a recent IT incident. It took place, their first intimation to the exchanges was on the 2nd of March. Now this is a follow-up to that. They expected reduced revenue in some businesses because of this IT incident which is
taking place. But they haven't quantified
They haven't
the hit,
quantified
right?
it, but sources very close to the company have told me that FY23 guidance is intact. So that means there is not that much of an impact for it to impact their guidance, which is high single-digit to low double-digit growth, which is expected to continue in terms of what they will deliver this year. Now, separately, there's a lot of other, you know, there's a lot of other news for Sun. For example, we've acquired 60% stake in a small animal health company for 143.3 crores. So a lot of companies are now diversifying as well into other segments, and animal health is a huge segment. Many people are buying pets, you know, especially post-COVID. And separately, Credit Suisse has upgraded Sun Pharma to outperform from neutral. Target price is 1150. Specialty sales are expected to double in the next 4 years. So that is what's taking place in Sun Pharma. Yes, the incident has taken place, but investors possibly feel that, you know, Sun has the ability to overcome this and look beyond it, and specialty is the big driver for Sun, so that's why we're going to continue buying the stock.
Okay, that explains how that positive news is really offsetting the concern around this ransomware incident that's happened. We had a lot of news on, I think, Lupin, on Alembic, a couple of other names, and I mean, as far as I remember you telling us since the morning, it's more positive than negative. It's all regulatory news, I think, the UK regulator, the FDA. So fill us in.
Yes, absolutely. So for the Lupin, particularly for Lupin, the UK MHRA has completed an inspection of their Pithampur facility successfully. They've also been inspected by the US FDA for a pharmacovigilance inspection, which means that it's a scrutiny of practices and procedures for reporting adverse events of Lupin's products. Whether or not they are reporting adverse events correctly, and you know whether that part of their reportage is correct. So that has been given a go-ahead by the US drug regulator with 0 observations. So that's definitely a positive for Lupin. Alembic too, one of their facilities was given a clearance by the Brazilian regulator, and the other one was inspected by the US FDA with only 2 observations. So that too was a positive. Morpen, for example, their API plant was cleared with 0 observations from the US drug regulator. So all of this is stacking up as positive news. Lastly, there's Biocon. IIFL has upgraded the stock to add from reduce, and a target price of 230. They say valuations are reasonable, but not cheap enough as of now. But nonetheless, they're positive on the valuations.
Okay, despite the sharp price reduction that we've seen in Biocon, they still think it's not cheap per se, but maybe reasonable. So, summing all of this up, Ekta, just help us recap the important triggers that we should watch out for. A lot of this, of course, company specific, but like you mentioned, perhaps some let up in the generics price competition in the US market is one. Obviously COVID, and fingers crossed on that one that we won't see a major spike, but what are the other major triggers next couple of months when we look at pharma stocks?
It'll obviously be individual stock related. So, for example, it would be probably a specific launches as well for a lot of the companies, whether or not they are managing to monetize that correctly. Dr. Reddy's, for example, is supposed to benefit greatly from Revlimid generic, which is that cancer drug. They do have a couple of drugs lined up as well. Sun Pharma has their specialty business, which the street is very bullish on. So that seems to be one of the big triggers, which is helping the stock to be resilient despite a lot of negative news flow for, say, even their Halol facility. So despite all of that negative news flow, they've been resilient because the street is bullish on their pipeline of products. Similarly, for a couple of other companies, say for example Cipla, the big trigger would be what happens to their Goa facility, what happens to another facility when it comes to the US drug regulator, and price erosion as a whole. Whether or not that will abate, that will be a positive if it does for the entire sector. As of now, the street is saying at least there is some amount of growth which is taking place in pharmaceuticals. People need medicines all the time, irrespective of which bank.
You probably need more medicines if the market's giving you as much heartache and as much stress as these banking issues are. Right?
So everybody needs to buy drugs at all times. So that's the reason why you're seeing that kind of interest today.
Okay, Ekta, thank you very much for demystifying this move and putting it in context for us. Very interesting. Let's see if we have more such days, and we look forward to having you back very, very soon on Who Moved the Market again.
Thanks.
All right. Well, folks, hopefully you enjoyed this conversation and it was as informative as I thought it was. Do keep sending us your feedback, comments, queries. We'll see you again tomorrow with yet another theme from the market.